everybody. Welcome to this next edition of Lazz Logs. You already know who this is. It's your boy Lazz, and yeah, you know, it's been a little bit. I mean, not really. I mean, hopefully I'll be able to do these more often if happenings are going on, which, I think I have a few things that I'd like to share with you guys. So, starting off, if you've been following me on all my socials and whatnot, I've finally bit the bullet and joined Fur Affinity. Um, I know that was a long time coming, right? I've only been on SoFurry since I think May of 2008, and since it's been down and whatnot, me and one of my friends have decided that if SoFurry wasn't going to be up by you know, the start of September, which it's still in the progress of getting set up, and they're finally at their new data center, and they're just getting everything all worked out and whatnot. But I finally just decided to bit the bullet, made an account. I didn't post everything that I had there because I'm still considering Fur Affinity to be a secondary account for me more than anything. I can still see me being on SoFurry more than Fur Affinity. But it's been a great experience so far. I mean, obviously it's a heavier traffic site, which I've always known that over the years and whatnot. So it took a little bit of getting used to for sure, only because the amount of people, how quickly people respond and whatnot. I mean, I was posting content, and it was within less than an hour I was getting, faves and comments and things like that on the content that I posted. And I'm not used to that because SoFurry's that slow. Well, doesn't have that much of an active user base. Let me say that. It's not that it's slow. It's just not as active as other sites like Fur Affinity, and I'm pretty sure X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. I'm sure those have a much higher traffic than what SoFurry will ever have. But I'm hoping when SoFurry next comes out, or when SoFurry really comes back in general, maybe people will like the new UI and whatnot. I'm looking forward to it when it comes back. I know there's some extra settings and things that I'm looking forward to maybe dipping my claws and whatnot. I don't. It's like I said, I don't really have any gripes with FA, but probably the only thing that I will say, which I think I'm now finally getting used to the learning curve. If you've seen any of my WDFLs that I do, I always try to pick up where I left off the last time I checked content. And, for me, I know you have filters and settings and things like that to tailor your experience, and I usually don't mess with those. And it's mostly because I could really miss something that's really great that I could like. Maybe not the contents of what's occurring in that I may not like per se, but when it's good art, it's good art, and it's you gotta give kudos where it's needed, and it just gives you a better appreciation too, because you could be missing out on a great artist or art style that you've never really came across, unless if you turn off those filters. But obviously, anything unfiltered, you're exposing yourself to everything, and for me, I'm completely okay with that. I've been around the furry block quite enough times. There's still obviously some things that shock me and whatnot, but I get over it pretty quickly. It's all artistic expression at the end of the day. But besides me touching base on that, the whole idea is that I pick up where I leave off. So since I don't have like filters or unfortunately for somebody like myself, I'm kind of weird when it comes to following people. If your art's good, great, wonderful, in any of those categories, I will remember who that person is. I'll remember the art style. I'll remember the username. and whatnot, where I can tell a mile away, oh, so and so is posted. I gotta check this out. And for me, I don't really need to watch them. Is my opinion, because I know what their content looks like. I know how to look them up if I want to see anything new, if I want to follow up and whatnot. But for anybody that's under my favorites or watch lists, really watch lists, not favorites. For anybody that's under my watch lists when it comes to sites like that, or subscriptions, however you want to pose it. I know each site has their own saying to it. The thing is that I adore or love their content, and and I already know, if I have people that follow me that happen to you know check my content and whatnot, and they hear this kind of stuff, I wouldn't doubt that there will be some people that I know, friends or associates, or however you like to tag that or classify that, I guess is probably the better word to say. There's probably people there that's like, well, wait a minute, like, you're always commenting on my stuff, you always have something to say, you give me recognition, some of the stuff you favor and whatnot. Why don't you have me on your watch list? And it's like I said, it just doesn't hit that special part in my heart where it's like, when I go to a website that has a subscription fee or something like that, or feed, not fee, feed, you know, I want to know what's going on all the time when something new gets posted all the time. And not every artist hits it like that for me. I mean, even for some of my close friends and stuff online, there's some people that doesn't make that cut, and it's mostly because it's like, look, I mean, you have good content, I love watching it, but I know who you are. Or there's other cases too, like, look, I might follow you on other sites and stuff where it's like, so, now if I bounce around from site to here to there and everywhere, it's like I'm always going to see that all the time in my feed, in my feeds, wherever I go. And it's like, not that I wouldn't appreciate it, but, it's one of those things where I know it can be hurtful for somebody's psyche to have, somebody that's either a fan or that closely appreciates somebody's art, and just to kind of see, well, you kind of don't follow me anywhere, but then you're always saying things about my art, like positive or good critiquing, or I'll ask, hey, what do people think, and you're like the only guy that would say something on it and whatnot. And it's like I said, it's not, I don't want to consider that as it's pity points for that person, because it's far from that. It it has to move me enough to be able to comment or to fave, vote, or whatever kind of means, thumbs up, whatever means that's available for that content. And at the end of the day, not everything's going to be like that for me. And I wouldn't doubt that there's others out there that feel the same way too. You give a watch or something because it shows, hey, people care about you. And I know that's important. That is important. Because all the lurkers and things like that, it doesn't help you gauge with things. And not that I'm much of a lurker myself, but I mean, it's no better. It's no better than me with my website, right? So I don't really have users on there, and and I'm going to try to cut this short, because the thing is I know I'm kind of going down a rabbit hole here, and that's not the intent of this, but I don't push on people, hey, why don't you make an account on my site, because then you can engage there with the content that I post or this or that or whatnot. Well, no, I'm on other platforms because you may not feel comfortable making another account on another site. I know I feel like that, you know. I mean, hell, there's times where there's great rewards programs in my local area, from my grocery store or gas station or whatever. There's a rewards program, and I won't bother doing it because it's like, now I got to make another account. Now that's another account that I have to manage and watch over and make sure nothing stupid happens to it. And it's just, I'm that kind of dragon at the end of the day. So, for those folks that are out there that keep up with my content, that happen to run across this Lazz log, understand that it's not that I don't like your content, it's that it just doesn't hit that sweet spot where I want to always see it in my feed. When I go to a website, that's the first thing I'm doing is, okay, what did people post while I wasn't here that I would like to see before I start surfing it? Because I generally prefer to just surf the sites themselves more so than, hey, feed me what's going on. And like, look, for some people that might be the best way to go about it, and then, vicariously you can find other content through other profiles and whatnot. I'm pretty sure that's how it's supposed to work, but, obviously, I guess I'm cutting against the grain is what I'm saying here. So for that, I do apologize for those few that might see this, and maybe that finally answered some burning questions, because I know I'm not vocal about that at all. I'll either say sure, no problem, and then I'll do it, or I just won't. And then obviously if it's brought up again, then I'll probably give my reasoning why. But anyways, so back to the whole idea of FA. So yes, you do have that, but that's how I prefer to have my accounts and do my things and whatnot. So I generally would just search for keywords and whatnot. And, like I kind of indicated before, if you've seen any of my, DWFLs that I've created, which really there's only one other user that's registered on my site that can view these things, and those are off and on. So I'm pretty sure anywhere out in the world currently, nobody has seen any of these, which is, it's okay. It's fine. It doesn't hurt my feelings. And this is an advertisement for it as well. But generally for that is how I would follow when I look up content on E621. I try to use those same keywords and whatnot. But the thing is the thing I noticed with FA is you have general keywords that will automatically go with the piece that you can select when you upload it, and then you can add your own customized tags or whatever. And I think you can add up to however many tags, but I think the tags in total can't be anything greater than 500 characters. And I'm not saying the individual tags themselves, just everything for your tags can't be any greater than like 500 characters, I believe. I haven't posted there since like last weekend, and how often I post furry content is far and few between, so I don't know when I'm going to be posting there again anyway. But, so you have that. So for like, let's say a general tag or a recognized tag, or I don't know how you would say that, because I can't remember exactly how it goes for FA, like dragons or dragon. Well, duh, no brainer, right? I mean, of course, my persona is a dragon. I be a dragon, so of course I'm going to look up dragon content. And the thing is that there's so much of not just the dragon content, but just everything in general, where if you go to one of those given tags that come with it, and I think I've gotten over this learning curve. I wouldn't even say a learning curve, but just the frequency of how it gets posted, or how much it gets posted. Like So generally, when I search on FA and stuff, to give you guys a little background, if I'm searching for something, I'll have it set to the date more so than relevance. Um, because I like to keep up, I like to pick up where I left off, like I said. So I like it by date, in ascending order. So newest to oldest, and I'll start with the oldest and go up to the newest. So I work my way backwards every time. And with me having it set to 72 contents per page, that's already a lot of artwork to thumb through per each page, mind you. Um, it can get up at least since I've started FA. I would say every day except for today. Um, it's I got to go back double digit pages. Like I was almost going back 15 to 20 pages because of how much content gets posted on this site daily. Which it's like I said, it's only mind it's I wouldn't say mind boggling, but it only sets me, you know, I'm trying to think of a good word for this. Um, I guess it just catches me off guard from how I'm generally used to, like for So Furry. I mean, hell, I can tell you even for comparison from Fur Affinity to E621, um, Fur Affinity gets more content than E621, which is crazy because technically with the numbers that are being tracked, E621 has been getting more posts year to year than Fur Affinity. But I'm assuming it's only like that because E621 has an approval process. It has specific tags that you have to use. You can't really have customized tags. Unlike for Fur Affinity, you can have customized tags, and there's only some general tags that you have to select. And and even if you're not sure, you have other or unspecified or something, but that still follows a general tag that you can still search to see what will turn up, mind you. But it's crazy. It's crazy. And don't get me wrong, man. And don't hold me to it neither. I know there's been furry mucks and things like that well before. Wow, that wasn't even a pun or anything. Well before Fur Affinity came around, but Fur Affinity is kind of the staple of the fandom. It's been around longer than So Furry by a little bit, not by a lot. But the thing is that it's crazy how much stuff gets posted there. And to think about, like, it's so easy for things to get buried and lost. I mean, when I made my account, because you can have journals on Fur Affinity as well. I kind of started off kind of like how I've seen all the other journals on So Furry. Hey, sorry for spamming or whatever, because I did, like, I don't know, 5 to 6 posts relatively back to back, like within a 2 hour period, because putting in descriptions and giving credit where credit is due, and finding a profile on Fur Affinity so I can tag them in it and whatnot. Doing the right thing on my part because I'm not a great artist, and because I only post the good stuff. Go strong, right? Um, it's like during that time period, like I would post one image, and by the end when I got done posting everything is when I'm like, okay, let me kind of check things out a little bit more on Fur Affinity, because technically, you know, I was just busy setting up my profile and reading things, understanding the terms of service, what to do, what not to do, the settings. What can you do with this? What can you do with this at the end of the day that's, not going to violate anything ultimately in the end. And, it's like during that time period of me doing all this and posting all my stuff, and then, okay, well, let me browse around. Let me see, I know I tagged all my stuff as Dragon. Let me see if I can find all my stuff. And I can tell you for something like SoFurry, and granted, SoFurry does have a mass um, post function, where you can post like 10 to 20 images at a time and whatnot. So it can take up, it can take up the home screen, or the new content that's been posted and whatnot. So obviously, when I made my journal, I indicate, hey, sorry for spamming, but it's like for every one image that I posted, there was anywhere between 20 to 30 other images that came right after that. Where I was thinking I was posting back to back to back. Oh, no, no, no. There was other people beating me to the punch because everybody's uploading their stuff all at the same time. So, it's something that I haven't gotten used to. So keep that in mind when I'm kind of talking about, you know, searching for things, trying to pick up where I left off. I mean, there's an ending thing to this whole story. Okay, I'm not just rambling on here. Trust me, trust me, trust me. By the way, trust me. So, with all that in mind, I'm searching for general keywords or something like dragon, and so much stuff gets posted that it's hard to pick up where I left off. And fortunately, I have a good enough memory that I can, okay, I remember seeing this image, that. Yeah, I remember seeing that yesterday, so okay, maybe not this page or something. But it's like to do double digit pages back with 72 results on each page, mind you. So anywhere from 10 to 15ish pages has been the average so far, except for today. Is It's mind-boggling. It's a lot of content to kind of thumb through. And don't get me wrong, I'm not the kind of person I'm going to view each and every single, piece that's been posted. No, no. I mean, but I want to make sure if I see anything that catches my eye, well, hey, I want to click on it. I want to give the guy a view at least. If it's not interesting enough to me to contribute a fave or comment, or download a copy for myself. I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't say I didn't do that. But it's so much stuff to thumb through, which I can tell you the past week of me using Fur Affinity for the few times that I've been able to, because it hasn't been daily, it's hours. It takes me hours, people, hours, hours. So I would have to say the only thing that I wish what Fur Affinity had that SoFurry had, but now won't have, that I didn't really appreciate until, the final year that SoFurry's been up, is, man, RSS feeds. Good Lord, that would help out a lot. But I don't want to dig into that too hard, because it's like I said, I think I'm finally getting used to it, because I think it might have been a learning curve. I think I'm finally getting used to it. But, the thing too is ultimately at the end of the day, Fur Affinity is going to be a secondary site that I'm going to go to when it comes to furry content. I enjoy it a lot. It's fun. There's a lot of great stuff that I know I wouldn't see anywhere else. Great talented artists that I've seen on SoFurry, but hey, I'm only going to be on FA, and seeing those guys and seeing their content, because their galleries and profiles on SoFurry when it was up is just it's empty. They clear it out, or it just stops after a certain point when it's like, I'm fed up with doing this. So it is refreshing to also kind of know, like, oh man, yeah, that's right, these guys are still around. It's not like they died and went off the face of the earth. So it's nice, it's refreshing. So hopefully I get better with that, and kind of like what I stated with all my posts and stuff. I'm definitely planning on implementing this into my WDFLs and whatnot. So I look forward to that. That's probably going to I wouldn't say pad out a lot of time, but it's man, it's always a lot of stuff to go through every single time I log on, and it's not a bad thing. It's just it can be overwhelming at times, and also, for somebody like myself that does things the way how I do it, do I have like 2 to 4 hours to kill? Because like that's kind of been the highest point is 4 hours of just thumbing through the content. And this isn't even like, well, I want to see the first post all the way up to today. No, 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 no. This is me. Okay, I started here last weekend. Okay, so okay, I remember this post. Okay, so from this post going on, I'm just going to see what else is there. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I can keep talking and rambling about this, and this whole Lazz log isn't even about FA. I still got a few more other things to cover. Take a sip of some refreshing beer here. So, the other thing I kind of want to talk about, which I hate. I don't like talking about things when it comes to the server. The site, that server, nothing else. And unless I actually have a plan of action in place, then I don't mind talking about it, or the admin dragon posts something about it on the blogs and whatnot. But I mean, even today, because today we do our standard backups and whatnot on the server and whatnot, and the obvious red flag that I know we're getting to here pretty predly is. And I don't know if Predley's a word or not, but it's something that I grew up with. So sorry. Maybe I'm not. I don't know. Anyways, so I'm running low on the storage. So by running low on the storage, so the system drive itself, it's almost at 90%. And typically, when you're hitting 90% capacity, it's not like a 5 alarm warning thing going off. It's pretty much like, hey, you can still do things, you can still store things, and this is like this for any hard drive, for any modern system this day and age. But it's like, you need to start planning to do something about this. I mean, you can keep it this size or whatever, but if you're going to keep it this size, then you probably don't really want to save anything, much more on this. And, unfortunately, this is for the system drive for the server. When I started off with last server 2, I only got 2 4 terabyte drives, and included them as RAID 1. I want to say RAID 1. Yeah, RAID 1, because that's when it's you have mirroring going on. Because yes, I did have a backup solution and whatnot, but if it fails, then hey, then I don't have to worry about getting the backup solution out and then waiting for it to go. The server can still run. I just gotta slap in another drive, kind of thing. So, anyways, I'm telling you, I don't know if this will be the video. I don't think this will be the video that's going to push it over the limit, because the Lazz Logs doesn't take up a lot of storage space on the server, to be honest. But I know for how often I post things and whatnot, especially when it comes to the game captures and whatnot, they're gigabytes big. I mean, the videos are gigabytes big. Come on. I shouldn't have to explain this. So I feel like this is probably going to be the month that I'm going to have to do something about this. And, I'm just going to kind of talk about the general outline of what I'm thinking and the options I'm thinking about doing. And, hey, if you want to, in the comments below, say, hey, I think this is the best way to go, or and whatnot, then, hey, that's cool. It's helpful. It's appreciative. I don't have anything written down yet. But I have these ideas in my head for what I'm going to do and whatnot, and I thought I would share them with you. But it's like I said, I hate I hate talking about it because I only really like talking about, hey, this is. I only like talking about what we're going to do with the server, not concepts of what could be the server, because we're not there yet. But since it's so close, I think I just want to kind of put that out and whatnot, because when we start doing the actions on the server to mitigate the storage issues and whatnot, there it could be severe enough that I may not post any content for a while as well. So I didn't want it to be, if this was going to be the last Lazz log and then the last thing was just going to be a blog post. Well, we won't be posting any more content because we're full and we can't risk it or something like that. So yeah, so that's the only reason why I'm only a bit hesitant about talking about this. But I mean, it's going to happen. We're right on the cusp of it happening. I mean, hell, if let me see right now. So we're at 89.96%, and that's currently looking at the server report. And I hate looking things up on the computer while I do these things, but like it's that on the cusp. So that's the only reason why I'm just going to include this here. And it's like I said, if anything that I say, if it sounds like, hey, Laz, that sounds like a good idea. I think you should do this, or even if you have a better idea or something, then you can go. Granted, I'm limited to what I'm really going to say. I don't have a Blade server, and 9,000 bays and of storage or whatever, but I do have some openings. So let me start off like this. So the basic concept that I have, and there's three concepts I'm going to run by you guys. So, or I'm going to tell you, however you want to look at it. Me, I got to interject everything that I say because I'm a fucking weirdo. But anyways, enough of me being a fucking weirdo. Let's continue. Let's not pad this out, shall we? So I kind of put it into one of three actions I'm going to do. I'm either going to do something basic, do something intermediate, or I'm going to do something advanced. And even when I get to the advanced option, it's not going to sound as advanced as the other ones, technically. Probably the basic one might sound more advanced, but I think it's going to be basic just because it's going to be easier to deploy. But anyways, so the basic thing that I was thinking about is technically I still have 4 bays open. Now, when I say bays, technically I can only put M.2 storage in it. That's it. That's all I have left. All the big drive bays are already taken up. This NAS unit is only 4 bays and it can hold 4 M.2 sticks of storage or drive space, however you want to say that. So the basic thing is that I can just add to the expansion. So I can get some M.2s, probably no more than 2 of them, if that. So either 1 or 2. Even for the size, I can tell you it's going to be anywhere between 1 to 2 terabytes. And more than likely, if I do get 2 of them, I probably would set it as RAID 0 and just make it into a giant storage, more so than just mirroring, honestly. So with that giant storage, or if it's 1 or whatever size and whatnot, but I know it's not going to be any more than 2 terabytes because those things are really expensive. I could really use something that's greater than 4 terabytes, but 1, I haven't shopped around, and 2, I'm pretty sure it's going to be thousands upon thousands of dollars for just one of those units. So I don't want to bother with that because that's crazy, and I'm not that crazy of a dragon to do that. So I can tell you that already. So with that premise in mind, so I add more space to the server, and with that comes these sub ideas of performing the basic thing. So either I'm going to move the actual system partition to these new drives, and then that'll technically free up two storage bays, because when I started, I had two 4 terabyte drives that I have set to RAID 1. So then what I can do with those two drives is either I can leave them mirrored as RAID 1, or I can just expand on it, reformat it, and then have it set up as RAID 0, and then I can have close to 8 terabytes of storage space. The biggest thing that's really taking up the space is just the videos that are being hosted on the site. So this is the thing that's really going to be affected by this at the end of the day. So, with me having the roughly 4 terabytes, that's, and it's like I said too, like, not that I have everything on the system drive, but I don't even want to say there's a dangerous amount of things on the system drive, but it runs a lot of things. It runs the main website, it runs the FTP site, it runs my scan server. It really runs a lot of things, and then from where all the contents are being stored varies, which everything for the site currently is on that system drive. So therein lies the issue and whatnot, where it's more so finding a separation of that is the big reason why for that. So, I can move the system to the new drives and whatnot, the new M.2 drives. And then, for the media and whatnot, because not everything's going to fit on there, obviously. So the media can get moved somewhere else, whether it's to the backup server or to another volume on the server, or saved on a different piece of media. Whatever. There's the options are limitless for however I want to do it. And it's like I said, I would just, for the original volume, then, hey, I got 2 drives and I can either do the mirroring thing. But even with 4 terabytes of space, that's still going to, it's going to open it up a lot more. It's not like I have over 4 terabytes of video content, at least not yet, I don't. So, that would work for sure. And then the benefit too is then the system itself is running off the M.2, which is faster because every single drive in there is a spinning hard disk. So it's not as fast as it would be as solid state, which I get that. So that's kind of the sub outlet of that for what I'm considering. The second thing that I'm considering is I could use that M.2 for my iSCSI drives and would make it a hell of a lot faster than my spinning hard disk. Because I can tell you personally on my end, if I'm playing like Killing Floor, it takes about I'd say 30 seconds, maybe over a little bit of a minute, for it to load onto my system. And it's because it's coming from a spinning hard disk over the network that has to go to my computer, that has to load onto my RAM, and then the game can run. And and then once when the game's running, I don't have any issues or whatever. It's initially running it because it has to run all the assets and whatnot, protocols, and whatever have you may. And I know it's not helping that it's on a spinning hard disk, as well as that spinning hard disk itself has 2 iSCSI drives that it's managing at the same time. So technically, you could say that there's one section of the hard drive that has all my games, and then the other section where I keep all my videos for editing and things like that before I post them. So, moving that to the M.2 would definitely make it considerably faster, I would assume. I would hope so. Because it's not really the speeds is what bothers me, but that could be the added benefit as well. And then with the iSCSI drive, that's like, I don't know, 8-10 terabytes. How big is that thing? 6 terabytes. 6 terabytes big. I gave it way too much credit. So, it's 6 terabytes big, which that would still help, and then I can use that volume and then store all of my media from the server onto there, and then boom, there you go, no problem. The last thing that I'm thinking about, which is, this kind of falls in line with kind of like how I was talking about, should be the advanced option, but it's not. And understand too, this is just the derivatives of the basic option that I'm thinking about. I know that this is how complicated my thinking is, so stay with me here. You know, not that there's a moral to the story. I'm just telling you what the hell. So I could do virtual machines, and depending on the virtual machines I'm going to run, so I can either have desktop virtual machines or server virtual machine. The benefit of that, and the virtual machines would run on the new M.2 drives. So the benefit of the virtual machines is then I can make virtual hard disks that I can just save the videos or the contents or anything like that to it. I would say more than anything, I know that one's kind of vaguish to an extent, but I think more so it would probably replace the iSCSI drive that I have for videos. And then it would just open up the space to the media itself, while I can still use a portion of that drive for playing games with iSCSI. Or I might just finally bite the bullet and move my Steam library to my desktop. But as you know, that's very dangerous if you edit videos, because you really need as much space as you can on your desktop so it can cache your videos, so there's no issues when you're finally exporting it. So that's the only reason why I've done things the way how I've done them. And I can't remember. I can't remember if I might have. I may not have explained that in a Lazz log before, but I wouldn't doubt that I've explained it in blog posts and stuff on my site for the reasons and terms and whatnot of that. But so that would be the idea of alleviating the storage space of the system while still keeping the system there and having virtual machines. So the virtual machine one, I'm not going to lie, is a little bit more exciting for me, and not because it's new. I mean, if you see any of the content, virtual machines are no problem, no brainer. Sometimes a little bit more easier to work with than actual, a bare metal machine. But the thing is that with that, the possibilities are endless. So that's what I kind of like about it. If I do something like a desktop virtual machine, then I'm probably just going to really keep all my video editing stuff at least saved on there. I don't think I'll be able to edit videos or anything like that. I don't have a powerhouse server and computer and hyper threading and network to do all that. If I could do all that, I probably would be doing a lot more content. For sure, that would be better quality. But the thing too is if I lean more towards another server now, and this is just something I've been batting around a little bit and whatnot, but I might do something what I like to call an after hours server. And I know some of you guys are probably thinking, after hours, don't you mean after dark? No. It's not spicy, people. I mean, you already see and hear how I am. I'm not really any more different than anything else. But having an after hours server, how I like to call it, or at least back in the day, I don't think it's a thing anymore. When you had serious developers that would post updates and things like that, or pre-builds or something, they would have after-hours servers. So whatever they did for the day, they would post it there, and then people can test it out and try it. So I don't even know if that's still a thing. It was a thing back then. And by back then, I'm talking like early 2000s here. I would say not that long ago, but that was 25 years ago. I laugh at my own mortality. Anyways, so with an after-hours server, the content that I'm thinking about posting and whatnot is, I might do more with videos and whatnot. Maybe I'll game capture more different content and whatnot, because I'm pretty set with how I do game captures. And I'm pretty sure, as you know, like, I mean, the obvious format right now is okay. I'm doing Far Cry 6 and I'm playing Perfect Dark, and there's kind of nothing else, right? So with an after hours server, it if I do it, then I want to try to do more things. Like maybe I'll play games at random. Maybe I'll actually look into doing recording sessions of Killing Floor and whatnot, like how my other friends do sometimes. It's like, I mean, this is stuff that I thought about, but it's like, no, I don't want to do it because, and it's not because, oh, it'll ruin the format of my content. You think I care about that? No, of course not. It's more so, I like things set up in a certain way, and then once when I have it set up in that certain way, okay, then we're just going to do it like this, and this is fine. This is more so just to be a bit more random at times, and maybe try to capture it a bit more often. Is my idea of what the after hours server would host. The thing Well, I'm probably just going to stop right there. I don't want to get any deeper than that because it's like I said. This is all just the outline of the concept of what of of what is going to be considered when we got to do something about the server, about the storage space, okay? So I don't even want to go any further than that, and it's not like it's a secret or anything because it does bring up its own challenges that I can't really discuss because we haven't ventured into that. We may not even do it at all. So that's why I'm only stopping myself there. So there's that. So understand, as I take a sip of beer here, this segment is brought to you in part by Liquid Encouragement. Liquid Encouragement, you don't need it. Just talk. Come on, people. So this moves to our next option for the server storage situation when it comes around, and that's the intermediate option. So the intermediate option itself is, so I have a third volume on the server that I use for game captures, but the game captures themselves are still performed on the AV station. It's kind of a holding area or a staging area where once when I finish the game captures themselves, I move them to this shared volume, and then I'm able to completely move it and or edit it on my desktop and save it onto the iSCSI drive afterwards. So this space alone is 12 terabytes, where technically I would still leave it the way it is as the as pretty much the staging area or the holding area of the videos that I create, and I would just throw all the media elements that I have for the server onto there. So the last thing, which is the advanced option, even though it sounds advanced, I know it's not as advanced as me talking about virtual machines. The advanced option is just cleaning up the server, and not that I wouldn't know what to clean up or what to move and or all that jazz. The thing is if you've been with us since the beginning, so if you've been with Lazz.network since the beginning, you know that I've already done archiving before, and that would be kind of the option that I would kind of look at, is how would I archive data and things like that, and or would I need to archive anything like that, where I would say the most simplest thing is since I wouldn't even say now, but for a while now, since I've been posting, cross-posting in general, so whatever videos that I make that are public always go on YouTube, and they almost never get taken down or get any kind of strikes or anything. So that would be like a default, most easiest way to archive if I didn't want to hold the files anymore on the server, which is a possibility, because I mean, a lot more people like YouTube more than my site, which I understand. It's more optimized, it's easy to get to, it's dependable. It checks the boxes for everybody. You know, um, so that would probably be the way to an extent, but kind of like with how the basic option, how I had a kind of a few subsets. You know, cleaning up the server almost has a few subsets of itself where, yeah, for the most basic of archiving is, okay, well, there's already content on YouTube, so technically I could just remove it from the server and then booyah, space, right? Besides cleaning up other things and whatnot that I run and manage on the server itself. I could also archive things myself through compression means and whatnot, and whether if I want to rehost that for a download or just make it available through other media means, it would be the other way on how I would look at that. Where I would say probably if I'm still going to host it, it would probably be just a different compression means. Where if it's zip format or 7Z or one of those kinds of means, and since I have a download section on my website, it probably would just make it available for download, something like that, something along those lines. The most advanced thing I would say is just I back it up to a different storage medium, and maybe if I'm feeling spicy or something, maybe I put some of the content back, or maybe if I get bigger storage or something like that, I bring it back. But I mean, regardless, it would still be on YouTube, so it's just kind of doing double the work and whatnot. But yeah, so that's kind of the things that I've been thinking about for what's going to be happening with the server here. Soon, I would say very soon. This is all just concepts and ideas, but there's no actual plan of action yet. But somewhere along those lines is what we're thinking about doing. So like I've stated before, if you like any of the ideas, by all means do say something in the comments, or if you think there's a better means or way, absolutely. Let me know. I'm curious to hear if you do have anything. So, take a sip of water here. Yeah, sorry, I had to switch from the beer there. So, this isn't necessarily an issue, I would say, but I do just kind of want to air this out and whatnot. So, I know off and on I've been talking and saying, hey, my girlfriend this, my girlfriend that, and just I would say about a week ago, I myself have kind of decided to call it off and whatnot. So, not that there was anything bad happening in the relationship or anything like that. It's just more so. I always felt like I was just never there for her, and I never meant to be that way, and it took some time to really think about it, and the relationship, myself, and her and whatnot, and I kind of feel like that, for how I am and whatnot, I don't think I could change to make the relationship better. It wasn't anything like a final ultimatum or anything. It was just like, is this what I want, as well as this what we want? And yeah, for me, ultimately, I just kind of decided it's maybe it's just not meant to be. But this doesn't bring me down or anything. It's like I said, it's not like anything ended on like a sour note. It's it is to an extent kind of liberating for us both, just for the fact that I guess you could say we don't have to deal with the emotional baggage and whatnot. I mean, we still care for each other. We're still going to be living with each other and whatnot. you know. But I know this isn't like a call out for, hey, look, I'm single and I'm available or whatever. It's like, no, it's far from that. I it's definitely making me realize that, I need to take a longer look at myself and figure out like who I am and whatnot. Because not that I'm like self-centered or anything, but this is definitely something that it's going to take some soul searching for sure. But it's like I said, I hate ending on a note like that because it's not, and I'm not trying to make it sound as bad as it is, because it's really not. I mean, we're pretty happy. We never really had any kind of disagreements with each other. It's just, or we treated ourselves like horribly or anything like that. But I feel like there's, I feel like I've caused some emotional damage that, I just never, I wouldn't even say realize, but I just, I just can't change, can't change who I am. And, that's kind of it. So, I don't really want to drag that on any further, mostly for the fact of, yeah, part of it's personal, but also, the other part of it is that, um, just kind of putting that out there and whatnot. But, I'm in no rush to look for another relationship or anything like that. I think, you know, yeah. I mean, maybe something will come down the line or whatnot, but I am, no. I definitely need this time to really think about just, where do I want to be, honestly. Where do I see myself in so many years, and is it just going to be by myself or not? And 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 like I said, like, I'm not trying to be sad about it or anything like that, once again. But I mean, I know for some people companionship can be a huge blow when it goes away. But I know I still have good friends and whatnot. I mean, she's still a great friend as well. So we still talk to each other every day. I mean, we're still going to be living in the same house and whatnot. So you'll probably hear me talk to her off and on, in some of my videos and whatnot that come up. It ain't too often, because I usually get left alone to my own devices and whatnot. So, but yeah, yeah. So that kind of ends this Lazz log here. I know I kind of ranted for a little bit longer than I wanted to about FA, but I definitely just wanted to kind of put that out there. I mean, it's a new experience for me, and I'm weird in my own little ways and whatnot. So, I thought it was worthwhile. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I have. I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.